Hello, and welcome to episode 7 of Millionaire in the Making, my weekly series showing you the power of intentional budgeting. Today, I'm budgeting for a 24-year-old data analyst living in Boston, Massachusetts, earning $88,000 a year. She is paid weekly. Her only remaining debt is student loans. She's already begun her investing journey, and she's eager to save to purchase a home. Let's walk through a full month of budgets for her and talk numbers for renting versus buying. As always, let's start by looking at the current status of her debts, savings, and investing. Her debt list is short, it's just student loans. Those started out at $75,000. Her remaining balance is $60,300. Her minimum payment is $735.28, and the interest rate there is 1.3%. Really good interest rate. Now, even if she only ever pays the minimums, she'll be student loan debt-free by November of 2031. And that's it. Even though the balance is pretty high and the minimum payment is pretty high, due to this really low interest rate, I would say just stay the course with these student loans, pay them off at worst in 7 years. But as I say to anyone with student loans, keep monitoring those forgiveness programs. It's possible she won't have to pay off this entire $60,000. Let's move on to savings, and where I like to start here is her emergency fund. What's going to influence her emergency fund goals will be what she needs to pay in a typical month. So we've listed her bills here on the master bill list. Rent, she currently has a few roommates and splits the rent and utility costs with her roommates. We've got Spotify, internet, and then here's her student loan minimum payment. These insurance lines here, these are premiums that are paid annually. If she wanted to be super thorough, she could take those annual premiums, divide them by 12, and list a monthly payment here. But we have captured the needs on her list. Obviously, Spotify is not a need, but we've checked everything else. We also need to make sure when we're considering what her emergency fund should be, monthly estimates for things like food and transportation. So I've got those listed here as well, and all of these are going to be needs, so we'll check those. If we add together all of the items that have been marked as a need here, $2795.28. So just under $2,800 for her monthly core expenses. She's been doing some saving in her emergency fund already, which is great. Her current balance is $8,951. This next line here will be her starter emergency fund goal, and that would have been just 1 month of expenses saved, which is that $2,800. She has obviously exceeded that goal, but what would a full, healthy emergency fund look like for her? Well, given the fact that she's single, she's renting, she does have a consistent, reliable income, I think a 3-month emergency fund is great. And in that case, we want to take this 1 month of core expenses saved and multiply it by 3, which would give us $8,400. And she has clearly exceeded that too. So emergency fund is in great shape. That's a block we're going to be able to skip in these budgets that you're going to see me walk through for her. But let's look at the savings bucket tracker, and we'll consider other savings buckets she might want to set up and gradually save inside of throughout the year. The first bucket we see is the emergency fund. She's got a starting balance of $8,951. She's in great shape there. The next 2 buckets that are a must are home maintenance and car maintenance. Home maintenance is for those who own a home. She's renting, so we won't set that one up for her, but we do need a car maintenance bucket. I mentioned on the master bill list page that she has annual premiums for auto insurance and for renter's insurance. Let's go ahead and make those buckets, and she can just gradually save throughout the year so that she'll be ready for that one large expense when it comes due. And all of these have starting balances of 0. I will go ahead and list here, when it comes to her car insurance, that annual premium is $1,595. And when it comes to her renter's insurance, that annual premium is $105. So we're going to set those as goals for these last 2 buckets. I'll float back up here to the top. Her goal for her emergency fund would have been $8,400. She has exceeded that. Car maintenance, though, I'm going to come back to. I'm not quite ready to set a goal here because I need to know how much discretionary income she has in a given week or month to see what she could realistically save. On the next page, I'll list holidays. Starting balance is 0, but we're getting ready to get into November. I think it's just smart to have a little bit of money set aside here. We'll see if we can get a few hundred going there once we start fleshing out her budgets. And lastly, I'm going to list this here. I think as we talk more about renting versus buying, she'll decide if she's going to end up keeping this bucket. But the home purchase bucket is at 0. In her questionnaire, she mentioned, I want to save $5,000 or as much as possible. basically as quickly as possible because she's working towards that homeownership goal. But we're going to look deeper at some numbers. And I think with that, she'll be able to make a more informed decision, a data-driven decision to see if she wants to keep this as a savings goal. The last piece I want to look into before I start to craft her budgets is her investing situation. Now, she has a 401k through her employer. She has a Roth IRA. She has a taxable brokerage. And then I'm assuming in a second brokerage account, she's got this Treasury index fund that she listed in her questionnaire. Across those 4 accounts, she has currently invested $43,112. This is great at 24 that she's already investing. She's got her footing. She's been consistent with it. So here is her starting portfolio amount. She's paid weekly and she invests weekly. When it comes to her 401k, she is putting in $156.12 per week. When we look at her Roth IRA, she's investing $100 per week. And then inside of that taxable brokerage, she's contributing $50 per week. On a monthly basis, then, she's investing about $1,225. Let's paint a picture here. If she keeps investing that $1,225 a month every single month, and we assume a 7% average annual return for her portfolio before retirement and a 5% average return during retirement, once she reached age 62, she'd have about $3.4 million across her investment accounts. And that would allow her to have, in her retirement years, today's equivalent of $5,000 a month pre-tax to cover her expenses. So she'd have that $5,000 a month. She could do that all the way until she's 85. So for 23 years, okay, from 62 to 85, having that $5,000 a month, again, this is in today's dollars, the $3.4 million portfolio is what makes that possible. Now, of course, I know she's 24 right now. A lot is going to happen. A lot is going to change between now and age 62. Her living situation, her career, her family situation. Maybe she gets married, has a family. A lot is going to change. I still like to do these projections because I think they help us see we're going to have to be aggressive, and we'll have to be aggressive consistently if we want to retire before those traditional retirement ages. But this is her starting point. Let's see if we can get her investing even more while still having a very balanced budget and one that is not led by deprivation, because I don't believe in that. I'm going to set up 4 budgets for her. She's paid weekly every Thursday. The first one I'll put together is for her payday on Halloween, and it'll run through November 6th. She gets paid again on November 7th. So the second one will run from November 7th to November 13th. Next payday kicks off another budget. So November 14th through November 20th will be yet another one. And finally, I'll go ahead and do November 21st through 27th. So as you can see, each payday kicks off a new budget. This is what it means to budget based on when you're paid, which I highly recommend. It's the most efficient way to do it. Let's pop back to this first one and we'll start with income. We need to see what she has to work with for this weekly budget. Each paycheck, after taxes have been taken out, other deductions, 401k contribution, she's bringing in $1,125.94. This is what's going to hit her checking account. That is her only source of income right now. So that is our total for the income block. When it comes to her expenses, we're going to list the fixed ones first, basically those with a due date. Her rent is due once a month, but since she's paid weekly, I think it's a good construct to have her set aside a quarter of that payment every single paycheck, every single week. So that would be setting aside $321 each check. So you're going to see me list this line just like this first in all of her expenses blocks. Same logic for the student loan payment. We're setting aside just a quarter of that monthly payment every single week. So $184 for that one. The one bill that does fall in this pay cycle on November 3rd is the electric bill, and her contribution to that will be $60. And that's it for fixed expenses. We move now to those variable costs, those costs that can change month to month. So food, pet costs, transportation. So here are her variable spending lines and estimates for those. We also want to make sure that we list in a cushion. If you're giving every dollar a job in your budget, which is known as a zero-based budget, we need some wiggle room. So here's that cushion. It's just for 1 week, so I'm going to make it $50. When we add together all of these expenses, we're looking at $785, and her income here minus these expenses would leave her $340.94 for this 1 week. Now, what I'm actually going to go ahead and do is fill in the income and expenses blocks for the remaining 3 budgets, because I want to see just how much extra we might have in a month That discretionary income can be put towards financial goals and fun. So here's what we're looking at for the November 7th through 13th budget. About $365 left over. Here we have November 14th through 20th, $400 left in this budget to work with. And this fourth budget I'm building for her is actually exactly the same, $400 left to work with. So across these 4 budgets, there's about $1,500 left to work with. Since her emergency fund is healthy, she's already got a little bit over 3 months of expenses saved, and she doesn't have any high interest debt left, we're going to be going from block 1 to block 4 in every single budget. And she's already investing in her Roth IRA and her brokerage accounts with each paycheck. Let's list those contributions here. Roth IRA and brokerage contributions have now been added to the 4 budgets as well. We still have $600 for the month that we can put towards financial goals and fun. The next block to fill in is saving. So I'm going to pop back to the savings bucket tracker. With that $600 per month estimation, I can create a savings schedule for her and we can set realistic goals for her savings buckets. Emergency fund, all set. For car maintenance, I think a good starter goal here would be $1,000. If we were to spread her savings across the full year, it would be about $84 a month that she would need to save to reach that goal. So we're going to go ahead and start getting her in that tempo. We're not going to be able to reach that $1,000 goal by the end of the year, and I don't think we need to prioritize it so much that we structure it that way, but we want to get her in that habit of saving $82 to $84 a month to work towards this car maintenance goal. Her car insurance premium is paid annually. It's $15.95, and that will be due in full in 12 months at $15.95. So we want to stretch this out across the year. If she saves about $133 per month, she'll be able to cover this bill in full when it's due. Same logic for renter's insurance. That premium is coming. We know it's going to be $105. This would equate to $875 per month for 12 months. We'll just go ahead and round that up to $9. With all 3 of these, we're just getting her into a rhythm. She's not going to be able to meet these goals by the time we close 2024, but she'll be in that savings rhythm that will get her where she needs to be. So looking at these figures with $600 left across the month, this is definitely manageable. I'm going to go ahead and pop back over to the budgets, list these, and that will help me determine what we should do with holidays, which is a short-term goal. I mean, they're pretty much upon us. I want to see if we can put together, a nice, comfortable holiday season for her. Same logic for home purchase. Let's see what we would have left to work with. This first budget for her payday on Halloween, I'm going to go ahead and put in that full $82 that we wrote in for November for the car maintenance bucket. I'm going to do half of what we listed for auto insurance for the annual premium, and then I'll do the full contribution for the month for the renter's insurance premium. This would leave me $33.44. Typically, when we get down to figures like this between 30 and 50, I will go ahead and just jump to the personal spending area, which would go here in block 8, and go ahead and devote all the remaining dollars there. This way, we're front loading the aggressive savings, trying to stick to that schedule that we set on the savings bucket tracker. But if we can do that earlier in the month, let's go ahead and do that. This fully takes care of the car maintenance goal for November and the renter's insurance goal. Let's do the other half of this insurance premium in this next budget. If I were to go ahead and write in here $100 for the holidays, it would leave $48.44. And similar to what I did with the previous one, that will all go towards personal spending. So this would be money she could put towards concerts or events or treating a friend to a nice dinner or beauty expenses. That's all captured here in this personal spending line. Those 3 savings bucket goals for car maintenance, her auto insurance premium, and her renter's insurance premium, we've taken care of those in the first 2 budgets. Now I'm thinking more about devoting additional funds to the holiday season, but also that home purchase line that she had. So here's what I'm going to do. In this third budget, I'll put $100 towards the holidays, and then I'm just going to put a placeholder here of another $100. What that would leave in this budget is $50.94. And I'm going to jump down and list that as her personal spending line. And I know I'm just swiftly skipping sections 6 and 7. Section 6 would be for things like contributing to a 529 for your child or for your niece, or giving to a charity, donating money to a family member or a family friend. That is what would go here. And then block 7 is more for household budgets where there is more than one stakeholder. This is where you're capturing essentially fund money as a household. She budgets alone, so we can skip that one. All right, so this third budget is now complete. I've got that placeholder there. I'm going to do the exact same thing with the fourth budget. This last budget is identical for sections 5 through 8. For this one, I did put home purchase instead of just general saving, but I want you to think of that line as more of a placeholder. So as I flip through these 4 budgets, I'm looking now at the second one. Here's this holiday line, and we've got a holiday line and a holiday line, each time at $100. What that tells me is that she could very comfortably invest $300 more per month. Okay, this holiday savings is short term. In fact, she could just stop here, $300 saved. Perhaps that's great for her for Christmas. And then as we look at her December budgets, that $300 ends up being invested. And I think that that's something that she could keep up. She has these 2 placeholder lines of $100 each. Instead of putting those towards a home purchase, she could invest those as well. So now we're up to $500 additional dollars invested per month. But I do think it's good if we don't quite exhaust all of that. We still want to give her the opportunity to travel, do some of the things that she enjoys, budget towards what she values. So I don't want to exhaust all that $500, but I definitely think very comfortably $300 more per month beginning in December could be invested. Now, if she were to keep pace with saving $200 per month towards her home purchase, and that just stayed there in her budget, $200 a month, if she kept that up for the foreseeable future, let's say she did it for 3 years, she'd have $18,000 saved approximately to put towards a down payment on a home. Boston is a higher cost of living area. That's why I want to pivot now to just talk a little bit about home buying and the math she'll want to consider in her renting versus buying decision. Here's an example with a $600,000 home, probably not a home that's going to be inside of Boston, maybe in a surrounding area, but let's look at some numbers. Let's say she puts down $20,000, meaning the mortgage that she actually takes out is $580,000. If we are looking at a 6% interest rate and it is a 30-year fixed mortgage, the mortgage itself, just the principal and interest on this loan of $580K, would be $3,477. That doesn't include taxes, property taxes, and homeowners insurance. For this example, we'll say that taxes and insurance add up to about $1,000 a month. That means that her total mortgage payment would be this $4,477. And this is almost all of her take-home pay for a 4-paycheck month. So taking on this mortgage would be house poor on steroids. Literally wouldn't be able to cover anything else in the budget. So some things that she could look at. She could look at purchasing a less expensive home in a different part of the country. She could stretch her time horizon until she purchases a home so that she could have more to put down, and most likely her income at that point would be a good bit higher, and perhaps this becomes within budget. But if we look at renting versus buying, if she continues to rent, as her income increases, she can invest even more. We've already got her to the point where she can take that $1,225 that she's investing now and invest anywhere from $300 to $500 more per month. But at least with renting, you have that amount in your rental agreement, and that is the ceiling. That is as high as that monthly housing payment is going to go, and maintenance costs are not on you. But with a mortgage, this is your floor. This is your starting point of what you would pay. Your overall mortgage payment can change, by the way. This part won't change in a fixed rate mortgage, but this piece of your mortgage payment can change. And I know that firsthand. On top of this, you're saving every month for maintenance expenses. I mean, those maintenance costs are coming. So you're saving and then using some money, saving and then using some money. But a good rule of thumb is you take the value of your home and 1% of that per year gets put into home maintenance savings. So if you have a $600,000 home, then in a given year, you'd want to save $6,000 towards maintenance costs. And again, that's on top of the mortgage payment. You might also be adding landscaping costs or parking or homeowners association fees, HOA fees. That cost of home ownership really starts to balloon. And I think a lot of people, they look at this mortgage payment and they think, first of all, that this will never change. And that's just not true. But they don't factor in the maintenance savings and maintenance costs. If you keep renting, these unknowns and these fluctuations, they're just not there. And it frees up more money to invest. My goal here is to lay more out on the table so that she can make an informed decision about whether to keep renting or to continue working towards homeownership. And hopefully there are even more of you watching that see this breakdown and maybe you learn something new, or it prompts you to go and look at the numbers in your situation. This is the largest loan that you will ever take out. It's not a decision to take lightly, but you don't need to own a home to build wealth. All right, that is all for today's walkthrough. Let me know in the comments what you would like to see in future episodes. If you would like to be featured on Millionaire in the Making, submit your numbers and info in a questionnaire. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.